What is up? This is the Leafs Convo podcast presented by Oakridge Ford. I'm Norman James along with Mike Augello. It's the pregame edition, the Leafs at the Flames. This evening, we don't want to date ourselves too much, but it is what it is. The Buds, 2 wins on the road trip so far. Many of our listeners in community predicting the Leafs will sweep the road trip. And so far, they've swept 2 games. Mr. A, do you think they can take it in Calgary? Because the Flames are flaming hot right now.
Hey, Norm. Well, I think that's a bit of a stretch to think they can sweep. I know the Leafs are playing better, but I think, you have 3 teams in Western Canada, in the Canucks, Flames, and Oilers. I think it would be, the odds would be pretty slim that they sweep the 3 games in Western Canada after beating St. Louis. But the Flames have won 6 games in a row. They've played a lot better under Jeff Ward. The interim head coach who replaced Bill Peters. I mean, this is a team that won the Western Conference in the regular season last year before losing to Colorado in the first round. There's a lot of talent there, and they seem to be getting more contribution from guys who they weren't getting contributions at all from, like Milan Lucic and Zach Ronaldo. So I have a feeling there'll be a little bit of a physical aspect to tonight's game where the Flames will try to be physical and maybe not try to run the Leafs out of the building, but try to exert their presence and make it felt. And I think the Leafs will have to weather that early storm against the Flames.
This is the Leafs Convo podcast, NJ and MIB on TLC talking TML. Freddy Anderson, by all indications, goes tonight. That's another game for him. It's a double-edged sword here, Michael. The Leafs need Anderson. Clearly, he is the guy, the straw that stirs the drink. Without him, this team isn't even a playoff team, in my opinion. But how much does he play? Or maybe playing a lot right now and resting him down the stretch is the way they want to go, but that might not even make sense either.
The benefit of this trip is that they've had games, days in between each game. It was Saturday in St. Louis, then Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for the Western Canada portion of the trip. They played Anderson against Vancouver, and honestly, I think he was the first star and mostly responsible for their victory because he stops 4 breakaways in the third period and really stood on his head and kept the Canucks off the scoreboard for a large chunk of the game. I would assume he's playing tonight, and there was some indication that they'd try to get Hutchinson in, but with them winning and with them playing the way they are and with the way Anderson played, I can understand why they would stick with him. But as the schedule gets a little easier at the end of the month, playing teams like Buffalo and Detroit and the Rangers, they have to get Hutchinson in there, or either they're going to wait and see if they can get another backup and get him in there. But they have to give Anderson a bit of rest at some points because otherwise I think he'll get burned out.
Kristen Shilton on Twitter reporting the Leafs are changing up their lines for the Flames game. Hyman Tavares, Marner, Kapanen, Matthews, Nylander, Engvall, Kerfoot, Mikheyev, Patan, Spezza, Aberg, Riley, Berry, Muzzin, Hole, Dermott, Ceci.
Changes there. I mean, Aberg stepped in for Andreas Janssen when Janssen got hurt. They immediately put him in like whatever you deem the Matthews line, either first or second line, in an offensive role because Aberg is pretty much an offensive player. He's not somebody who fits in a usual 4th line construct. He's not really a defensive player. I'm a little surprised at this move because Kapanen sort of proved earlier in the year when he was playing on the left side with Tavares and Marner that he did not play well on the left side, and they have him on the left side here. But he has played with Matthews and Nylander before, so maybe it's a little bit of experimenting. Maybe they're going to limit the ice time of that 4th line. It also indicates to me on the 3rd line, moving Engvall up to the 3rd line with Kerfoot and Mikheyev. I think Engvall has played fantastic as a 4th line guy, and his role seems to be increasing, and the confidence in him at the NHL level it appears to be increasing. So I don't know how the Leafs are going to be able to work it in terms of him staying on the roster once everybody's healthy, because I know that he makes a couple $100,000 more than some of the extra forwards like Timashov or Patan, but he has played so well and been a difference maker that they have to find a way to fit him on the roster because he has helped on the penalty kill, and his size. I mean, he's not a big aggressive player, but his size has been
I think people like Sheldon Keefe because he's willing to change, willing to adapt. Yet the number one line for him in Calgary is a line that produced so much and was contentious in the minds of a lot of Matthews and Nylander fans. Tavares centering Marner and Hyman. That's his number one line. That was the Babcock go-to on many a night last season. So is it what's old is new again, Mike? Or is Sheldon Keefe just doing what he feels is right? And this is right for the time being.
Well, I think Sheldon Keefe is open to experimentation. I mean, we've seen and trying new things and seeing if they work. Whereas I don't think Babcock was as flexible. I mean, I don't think we had ever seen, Nylander, Marner, and Matthews on a forward line playing 5-on-5 ever, and we saw that. I saw that in person when they played Colorado last week. You see him doubling up, playing Matthews and Tavares at the beginning of periods or after power plays, sort of stacking the line, or after penalty kills, stacking the lineup with rested forwards. I mean, that's something that a lot of teams do, and that Keefe is experimenting with, and it resulted in a goal in Vancouver where Tavares set up Matthews. So I mean, it's worth a look. It's worth just experimenting with it and seeing how it goes. If it doesn't work, they move on to something else. I think that's good, and that's progressive. And I don't see a harm in doing that. Whereas I think before they just, Babcock was intractable in certain instances, and he just didn't want to go there, so he just didn't do it. So this is a different
Tavares,
thing.
Hyman, Marner isn't a tribute to the former coach. It's what Sheldon Keefe has seen and knows works. And Tavares and Marner right now seem to be whether it's a duo or on their own, heating up as a combo. Tavares with 2 goals at 3 points in Vancouver. Marner, a bunch of points since he's returned. I know you and I have debated off the podcast setting whether Marner is completely healthy, but even a 80% Marner, as long as it's not a detriment and doesn't cause him to regress at any point, is better than most players at 100%, Mike. Oh, by the way, Flames' first goal is trending on Twitter, Leafs fans. So get on it.
Well, it's almost like, the gods want Zach Hyman, Tavares, and Marner together, because when everybody was back healthy, when Marner returned, Hyman was on the third line, and then Janssen gets hurt in that game against Colorado, and immediately Hyman is back with Tavares and Marner.
Hyman's produced
now.
Hyman's produced since he's returned.
Yeah,
too. He's just a good, pretty player. Why not? And he produces.
And that's I think an effect of them playing together and knowing where each other is. And I keep saying, Zach Hyman. I mean, he's not the most talented player in the world. Works harder than anybody. He's good in the corners. He's smart defensively. He's feisty. He's energetic, and that is needed. And I think that aspect is a better fit on that line with Tavares and Marner than any other left winger on the team. So I'm glad he's back there, and I think Keefe will recognize that he's the best fit there, and probably will stay there for the future.
Did I tell you that Flames' first goal is trending?
You did. I don't know what it's for. So.
Mike's in a mood. What happens to the Leafs out west? That's what I asked on Community. 113 votes. Thank you. We hit the 3-digit mark. Nice. 45% say they'll sweep. 42% think they'll grab a pair of wins. 2% think they were going to get swept, so they're done. 11% believe no matter what happens on this trip, it won't be good enough. I think it's somewhere between they'll sweep and it won't be good enough. Mike, last word to you.
Yeah, I think of these 2 games, it's, I think it would be productive if they get 3 of a possible 4 points. That means win one of them and get at least a point going to overtime in the other one. Calgary will be a challenge, like I said, with their hot ways so far under Ward, and if they can get at least a point out of tonight, or at least another 3 points of the next 2 games, then Leaf fans should be satisfied.
The Flames have a bunch of wins under Jeff Ward. The Leafs have a bunch of wins under Sheldon Keefe. Which team buckles this evening in Calgary? Have your say below this post, inside the comment section, and of course on Community. YouTube.com/The Leafs Convo. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Once again, thanks to Oakridge Ford. Michael, feel better.
Thanks.